Hi guys, welcome again to a new video. Welcome to Klaas Terlouw and to this lovely, late, very early series Range Rover. And as you can see, only the very first series actually came as a 3-door body. Some of you might know that we built Adventum Coupe based on the current Range Rover, a coupe, but obviously that was inspired by this lovely first generation Range Rover. Like I said, only available initially as a 3-door car, and then only later, I think somewhere halfway the 80s, the 5-door was added to the portfolio. But here we've got a late first series. You can recognize that because of the wheels, the lovely 3-spoke wheels, nice and beefy, deep dish wheels. We've got the deeper front spoiler, beefier bumpers, and then of course the horizontal grille rather than the vertical metal grille. This is a plastic insert grille rather than the metal veins that were standing up straight. And this specific example obviously has these nice headlight protectors, and the same on the rear end. Very interesting car. One could argue the actual first real SUV of the world. Some people deny and think that it was the Americans that came up with it. Of course not. The Brits did it, and they did it very, very well. Let's have a look at the interior. Again, this is a late first edition, let's say first body, which means that the interior was specced with wood later on. The initial car that we had next to Adventum Coupe didn't have any wood. As you know maybe of the videos that we did a while back, we had a white Adventum Coupe and then next to it a white Series 1 Range Rover. That interior was quite luxurious for the 70s, but this car is a 1992 model, I think, by heart, and it has a bit more luxury added to the entire interior. So we see a bit more leather here and there around the manual transmission. We see some wood inlay in the interior, in the doors there, and of course the dashboard, like I just pointed out. And the dashboard in itself is actually quite interesting because it was made in such a manner that it could be easily transferred from, let's say, right-hand drive, domestic market UK, to left-hand drive without having major issues and major things to redo. So the dashboard, actually, as you can see, this element here can be basically switched for the element there. A very smart way of setting up the car, making it into some sort of, let's say, glove compartment. But actually it's just a very cheap way of only producing one dashboard and just switching the steering wheel from one side to the other and integrating air vents rather than the steering wheel. Quite a lovely example, like I said, a nice cloth interior with nice deep carpets, a very plush car. We'll do a quick tour with it driving as well. It has a big V8, a nice soft torquey V8 suiting the character of this car. And here on the back again, these real metal tail light protectors. We've got the split tailgate that was introduced on this car as well. So the top end opens up and then the lower end moves down, so you can actually sit and enjoy the horse races or enjoy a picnic on the back of your Range Rover. Let's zoom out a little bit and have a look at what it is that we're actually seeing. A lot of people think that this car has been designed with a simple ruler and that was it. But actually it's full of small subtleties that make the entire sculpture look as kind and friendly as it actually is. For instance, this lower line that moves up towards the rear there. But also these lines, these aren't straight. It's actually slightly tapering upwards, making the entire rear end feel slightly more sculptural. And it might not show, but if you would actually make the lines completely 100% straight, the same goes for the roof line, if it would be actually straight, it would be quite an uncomfortable car to look at. Because of all the tapering, subtle tapering, but still tapering that is going down, the sculpture, the complete sculpture, looks the way it does. friendly, approachable, but still high class. It's an up-straight SUV, a very large greenhouse with a relatively small body underneath, typical for the 70s and the 80s. Cars had very large greenhouses. And still, if you look at the new Range Rover, that still features actually quite a large greenhouse on top, and of course a bit more, let's say, heavy body on the bottom. Again, something that is just commonplace these days in current car design. But that open cabin with a lot of glass and a lot of light coming in is typical for the Range Rover, and is a part of the Range Rover DNA, if you like, that is being carried forward. And the same goes for the typical so-called clamshell hood or bonnet with that typical shutline. So rather than having a shutline here, which you would see on, I would say, 95% of regular cars, it's a clamshell, so the bonnet comes over the fender, and the shutline here becomes a feature line there in the door, all the way towards the back. And again, a recipe that's been carried forward from the first generation to the second, to the third, all the way up to the current brand new Range Rover. So let's start her up and see how she drives and how she sounds. So guys, here we are, up straight in the classic Range Rover, and this is truly what makes this car unique. This lovely greenhouse, like I said, you're sitting up straight, there's a lot of light all around, great visibility outwards, not just for the driver, but also for passengers in the back, a lovely, comfortable rear seat. Torquey V8 on the background. You know, this is not a rough AMG, but it's a soft, like I said, torquey V8, which just suits the character of this car very well. Sitting up straight, so you've got this great view out, large bonnet, and a actually very comfortable driving position. Soft interior, great seat, and just a very relaxing car. This very early Range Rover. Thanks again for tuning in. Thanks to Klaas Terlouw for allowing us to take this lovely V8. And I'm looking forward to seeing you again in the next video. Cheers!